I noticed what's very interesting to me is this reminds me of Season 4 Worlds, where technically we were supposed to say Samsung Blue is the best team, because even though they hadn't won Summer, they only lost Summer in 5 games, and, you know, the KT Arrows team didn't go to Worlds, China's way weaker, all this jazz, right, on paper. But if you remember, a lot of people, including Monty and some others, they were like, even though they never won an LCK, I'm actually going to take Samsung White. Like, I think, you know, like, if you look at the team, if you look at the meta, like, there was reasons why you could actually believe they were better, even though competitively there wasn't a reason, right? I feel like we're in something akin to that now, because I've noticed if I go and look around the world of all the big analysts I listen to and I respect, most of them, Zabatine, just basically they've almost mind wiped the LPL final, and they're like, FPX is still the best team, they're the best team in the world, or if they watch LCK, it's down 1 for sure. And then what's weird is the third opinion, by the way, is if they don't go FPX, they go maybe RNG with the clutch factor. People are looking past Edward Gaming, I feel. So what are your thoughts? Where do you have Edward Gaming positioned? Do you also have like the spiritual best team? Is Edward Gaming the best team? Where are you coming down on this?
I've watched the LPL final with a lot of care. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I don't watch LPL because that's a full-time job. Like watching LPL is a full-time job. Yes. So my knowledge of the Chinese team is very, very minimal. But I've watched obviously the top 4, right? The semifinals, a little bit of the qualifier. To me, EDG is the favorite from LPL, not the favorite of the tournament, because I still think that Korea has an edge for some reason, especially after the day 1. But I do not understand, because my favorite Chinese team would be for sure EDG. Because first, they have the best ADC in the world, right? And
that
you
helps.
know,
in a team fight better, especially.
Yeah, you know that from experience, from watching League for like many, many years, having the best ADC in the world save you. It doesn't make you win games, win worlds, but look at Uzi, right? How many times he went like in semifinals or finals of world, just because he was like, so Viper is the best. There is no, if you ask Kydral, right? I think that Kydral is a person you can look up to in terms of opinion on the game.
Yeah, yeah.
And he says, yeah, he's the best ADC. And when you look at solo queue, it's pretty clear as well. So I think that EDG is the best Chinese team. I do think, though, T1 looks much stronger than what they looked during the finals. I don't know what happened. I feel like T1, for the first time in their history, feels like a group. Like, it feels like the team kind of clicked on the human side, which you don't really get to see. Like, when you see Damwon walking on the stage, you feel like 5 mercenary, you know, it's the Coma team, right? Coma team always look like they're so tired of playing the game, but they're so good because they play so much. T1 is much more like they're having fun, and they are just trying to play the best League of Legends they can. They had problems with the coaching staff, I guess, because like they fired the staff in the middle of the summer split and stuff. But at the end of the day, I feel like that is coming from T1. So it's a very, very hard game to predict. But I would say that from what we saw during the summer split, obviously EDG is the favorite. And people who disregard and say FPX just because of the names has clearly not watched the final, because it was clearly like showing that EDG was the better team of the two between FPX and EDG in the final. Like, it was not really even a match. Like, EDG is very, very well rounded, and I don't know if you feel that way, Thorin, but I do think that a Korean player playing in the LPL gets all the hype. A Chinese player playing in the LPL gets no hype. Like Ming, Meiko, THA, right? The jungle of RNG. You had Let Me in the past, Korowan, like all these players, they get no hype. And I don't know why, because they are insane at the game. But if you take Rookie, Doinbi, Scout, Dershai, Nuguri, all these guys get all the hype in LPL, and the other ones just don't. And I don't understand why, for the Western audience, if a player was born and raised in China and plays in the LPL, it was supposedly like worse than a Korean player. I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like it's very just unfair for the Chinese players.
Here's the thing, I at least get it when it's just like you play fucking mid lane or something. Like, yeah, the mid lane's going to look like the star player if they win the game. That's just tends to be the way League of Legends works. But I definitely agree on, like, for example, if it's like a jungler or a support player, these players get mad under it. Like, as you mentioned, 2 of them already, like Ming and Meiko, they're bona fide fucking legends. Like, if we make a Hall of Fame of League of Legends, like, they would get in for China. Like, look at what they've fucking accomplished. Look how good players they've been. They played with different ADCs and had success. Like, these guys are very good. Like, I actually think in this particular game, Mako, he's basically the only person that's still in the team for all these bloody years since way back to the Deft days. This guy has had a very, very good career. Just as you say, people just look at like Deft, or they look at Viper, or they look at, you know, even Scout now is actually getting a little bit of hype finally. Like, it does feel like that people, or I do think that some of these teams are powered by Koreans, but it isn't like when NA had like an amazing European mid laner, they just have that, and then you have to hope the NA players don't fail. These Chinese players are right up to the level. Like, that's one of the things I think actually makes China amazing, is how they've integrated star players from Korea with really good players elsewhere. Because another thing is, like, especially the group of teams they've sent now, beyond maybe LNG, who was a surprise to be here, you don't really find that many weak spots on the Chinese teams, which would happen if these players weren't that good, actually.
Yeah. I mean, FPX has LWX, that's like fantastic. THA in RNG is a monster. Like you saw his listen play yesterday, just playing out of his mind. In LNG, of course there is Tarzan, but you saw Ale just smashing top lane in the plane. Very like competent player. Last year at Suning, you had Ben that did a pentakill with Fiora against the full power Damwon World Final. So I think it's just unfair, the treatment, just because people don't watch LPL, and that the reason for that is watching LPL is a full-time job. It's not because you don't watch it that this player don't do these amazing things. And yes, for today, as I say, it's very hard because I don't think the T1 is the team that left Korea. I think there is something more in this team from what I've seen. And I can't say that EDG looks weaker than what they looked at the LPL final. So for me, this game is going to be the barometer how well LPL can do against LCK. Like, the whole narrative of 4-0 the first day, LPL washed up, EU, I can't like take any conclusion out of the first day, but this game is going to give me much more information on how good LPL versus LCK is and what are the trends for this tournament than any other game.
In light of what we said about the meta as well, I look at the EDG team and it's like, look, if it's going to be a fucking mage mid and we're going to a teamfight meta, that's also great for EDG. They've got Scout, who, by the way, is basically like played a billion games of Azir in his career. And obviously Viper, basically any teamfight meta, that's what he wants. That's where they're going to be at their best, potentially. Right, on the T1 side of the equation. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.